Yeah, it,
Yeah,
it, it is time.
it is. It is. We are back. We're so back. This
Again?
holiday season.
Wow, it's a Christmas miracle.
Truly, truly. Yes, welcome back to Layer 1 again. Today, we're talking about a little, another anime this time. Uh, got really good vibes. It's Dandadan. Trying to find something else to say there, but what I was just like, well, what else to say? It's just good vibes. It's great. It's like
It's just good.
it's like such a I don't know, comfy time. Feels different than a lot of things I've seen over the last few years. It stands out a lot.
It's like a Bethesda game. It just works.
It just works. Yes, truly. Honestly, it's like the perfect combination of so many things and it's insanely relevant to the stuff we talk about here.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I've been following the manga since I first heard about it about like 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 2 years ago. I'm not caught up on it because it kind of it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, today I feel like done and done, but I'll leave it for like a couple months, waiting for a couple of
Yeah.
chapters or something.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is with ongoing ones. It's just like, you get stuck
Exactly.
away
Yeah.
for a little while and just check back in. And
Yeah.
especially
Exactly.
me falling into this curse of I pick up a new series, I find out it's monthly, and then I'm like, oh Christ, catch
Oh
up and
shit.
catch up in a couple days, and then I'm like, well, I guess I'll forget about it for a little while and check back in when there's 2 more chapters.
So for those like I don't know 2 people who are for some reason listening, watching this, don't know what the fuck Dandadan is for some reason. Explain, good sir. What is Dandadan? I don't like pretend I don't know. I
Yes,
don't understand.
pretend you don't know.
What is this anime thing you youngins
So
enjoy?
So we take a little look at our literally me character of Okaru.
He is literally me. Yes.
Genuinely. Um he's super into your a lot of stuff. He likes his aliens, his little like conspiracy, not like
Yeah, he's just like
I don't know. It's more like the supernatural type of like alien sci-fi
yeah.
stuff, not
He's
like
he's an X poster.
an X poster. Yeah, there it is. That's the one. He's not Pole, but he's X.
He's X. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
He's out here talking about like fucking Skinwalker Ranch and shit, dude. Like, bro probably knows about like
yeah,
Dulce.
like straight up just name drops them.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it starts with that. It's just this kid who's super into that stuff, aliens, and is always likes little magazines. Probably uh, coast to coast AM's top listener, probably.
Yeah, if he understood English, yeah, I bet,
Well,
right?
yeah. There's probably talk about it. Maybe there's a dub out there.
Is there an Art Bell dub?
That'd
I
be
would listen to that.
something. That'd be pretty funny. And then we take the other side of this. We've got Momo, who's more into like those spooky stuff, like your ghosts and your that kind of stuff.
She's the resident astrology girl, basically.
Exactly, exactly. You got the two sides of the little X posting. Your your succubus threads poster.
I wouldn't even say that. Like Okarud is like just pure like X poster, whereas like Momo I can see being like TikTok.
TikTok. She
Like
watches those like haunted
like
house
TikTok
shows, like your like
witches.
ghost hunter shows. But yeah, so they basically come together at some point, and it turns out both sides of all of this are real, and more than likely are these similar, same type of phenomenon, which is interesting. Because it shows like cryptids and like yokai and aliens, and they're all like connected in some way, and that's kind of how the plot starts. Well, aside from the, you know, him getting his dong stolen and having to, you know, that's the actual main plot here is,
Yeah,
you
it's all
know,
about a man trying to get his balls back. That's what the story of
yes,
Dandadan is, quite literally.
literally, just with the little veil of paranormal on top of it.
It's not even a veil. Like
Not it's true.
those balls are fucking soaked in that shit, dog. Like,
It's
um,
truly like the MacGuffin of all time. It's insane.
his balls are literally the serious MacGuffin. Yes.
Yes.
That's what it's all about, man. Yeah, him and Momo and you know the growing cast of characters that they come across, right, and get involved in their shenanigans. Which there's all kinds of different, like, it's not one of those stories where there's like a super big overarching plot, right? It's just kind of like we're trying to get his balls and come at like all the like shenanigans that just result from that,
Basically,
rather than
yeah.
any like big thing. Like it's just a bunch of different arcs
Yeah.
that go
Yeah.
along with that.
Yeah, like the main little like background one is that one race of aliens that are just stealing people's reproductive organs in general, but it seems
I was gonna
they
say there's like a lot of them that are trying to do it too,
yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. But there's like that one race that starts it off and then they show up again,
Yeah,
like kind of a little recurring, like, you know, oh,
that's
we'll get
yeah.
you
A
next
lot of
time.
a lot of this stuff is recurring. I'd say in Dandadan, a lot of the creatures and entities, phenomena, like
Yeah.
it, which is kind of fun, right? I kind of like that. I like that. Yeah, it kind of moves from arc to arc, but it doesn't leave them behind, right? Which,
Yeah.
in fairness, is kind of a staple of like manga, right? Like
Right, yeah.
you kind of the characters, especially shonen, right? Characters, you know, are on their wacky journeys, right? And they keep meeting new characters, and that kind of it's just a staple of shonen storytelling, but is particularly interesting with Dandadan because of just how fucking weird it is, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, I think later on, one of those aliens, the Serpoians, Serpoans, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, one of them is like the alien equivalent of like autistic, I guess, and he gets like shunned from his society, so he just becomes like a minor cast member because he gets shunned for helping the cast a bit because there's an even greater alien threat that like threatens like the whole galaxy basically, and so like you know he kind of breaks some of the like their society's taboos and helping them, and they just kind of leave him on Earth, and he's like, oh okay, I'm just gonna like be a wagey and try to fit in as a human now.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's
Okay, right.
all right, yeah.
The fucking the alien, fucking the alien like bounty hunt, not bounty hunter, but like hired like fucking like mercenary basically who's just trying to fucking like save up to get his son like blood transfusions basically.
Yeah, yeah, that that's the one thing with this is they make all the little like antagonists have like super sad backstories. You know, like
Not all of them, but a lot of them.
well,
Yeah, a lot of them.
yeah, a good chunk, a good chunk.
A
It's,
good chunk of them. You're like, oh,
it's like,
uh,
damn.
damn. Like yeah. It's. I mean, the biggest one that everyone knows, right? Because it was part of the anime recently was. You know, you have this show, right, where it's just like, there's aliens and yokai, ghosts, spirits, demon things, right?
Mhm.
Cryptids and whatnot. You have all this insanity, right? Trying to get their balls back, and they're like fucking naked, all this crazy shit, and then you get this like tragic fucking backstory for one of the villains in like episode 7, where it's just like, yeah, single mom who had to like bust her ass for her child, and then she like apparently owed debt to like the fucking yakuza or something,
Yeah.
and her child gets kidnapped and they kill her. Like that's the origin for this yokai they're fighting, and it's like, oh, uh,
Damn.
okay, like you literally just had like wacky shenanigans the exact episode prior, and then you just get this complete complete shift in tone. You're like, what the fuck?
Damn, that tonal whiplash is real.
But it's great. It's great because like it's. I always say, and it's part of the reason why I really enjoy Dandadan, frankly, right? Is because
Mhm.
the mangaka, what's his name? Tatsu Yo
Yukinobu.
Yukino. Yeah, okay. I don't fucking. He clearly comes from the Big Smoke school of storytelling, which I do too. I am a fan of the Big Smoke school of storytelling, right?
Yeah,
Same thing, make us laugh, make us cry.
exactly. That's the
It's
way
that
to do
simple.
it.
That's the way to do it. You have crazy, stupid, insane shenanigans, and then you go, wait, here's the most tragic shit you've ever fucking seen in your life.
Yes. And it does it well too, because there's a lot of people who don't do that well. They think they do, but
But they
there's
suck.
timing, and there's like, where the thing that really annoys me with a lot of modern media and stuff is where they try to do something serious and like heavy, and immediately just like, like, oh, levity, we need levity immediately, like we need to like completely,
Yeah. Well,
undermine
yeah,
that entire thing with like
they,
just
they
comedy
undermine
and
it.
silliness. And it's like,
That's the problem, right? Is they don't
yeah,
know like they,
there's
they
a
do the order
balance.
wrong. You're supposed to
Yeah, exactly.
have the funny, silly, crazy shit first, and then the tragic shit. You don't
Mhm.
do the tragic shit and then go, well, well, here's some funny goofy shit. Like, what the fuck? Like,
I
no,
guess
like,
that happened.
yeah, exactly. Like, no, you don't do that. Like,
Like, no.
that's dumb. Yeah, they don't. You gotta stew in it. You gotta let the audience be like kind of have their oh shit moment, process it, right? Along with the characters, I think that's another thing too, right? Is that like if you have characters who just kind of move on from it and go, oh well, back to shenanigans, like your characters look like dicks,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they just look completely like that's, yeah, that's why it's really hard to
They
get
look
into
like
a lot of things where it barely
because you're just like,
affects
oh
them.
yeah, because like, oh well, like that's kind of heartless of you.
Yeah.
I kind of don't like you. I kind of your characters suck, right? Like Dandadan, like the characters clearly like care, right? They're human beings.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
able to empathize, right? Like so, not only are you allowed to stew in it, but you're also allowed to see how the characters react to what they're learning about these villains, and you get to see kind of you get to see their characters shine through too.
Yeah, exactly.
As you see that they also are not just a wacky, crazy, characters. They're also, emotionally complex, um, mature
Mhm. Yeah.
characters, people. So it's like awesome, right? You're like,
Yes.
it's just this thing called good writing that apparently a lot of people here these days just are like don't know about. I guess it's
Good
crazy,
writing?
right?
Challenge impossible.
In the year of our Lord 2024,
You're asking for
good
too
writing
much.
in anywhere that's not Japan, apparently. I
Mm,
don't know, man.
a hard ask. Have you heard of slop? You look too like slop. That's the best we could do.
Do you want the latest Marvel slop? Which even bringing that up is like it's frustrating because like if you've watched the two latest ones, the only really latest good ones, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and um Deadpool and Wolverine. Like they were actually well written movies.
Yes, they were. Yeah, they
right?
were
They
like
actually
a
had
nice treat for what they've been spitting out for a while.
yeah, like it's mostly been slop, right?
Yeah.
Which is like, but like it's one of those things where I saw a comment right under um I was listening on YouTube to the fucking the Madonna song, right?
Right,
um
yes.
the battle remix
It
from
goes
Deadpool and
hard.
Wolverine, and one of the top comments was like, this movie proves that like it's not that people have superhero fatigue, it's that people have bad fucking writing fatigue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's
Like
this.
people will still go and watch superhero movies if you write them well, right? Like Deadpool
Mhm.
and Wolverine, like Guardians 3, like they were really good. They were funny movies, but they were also very like emotional. Like they had a very strong emotional core,
Yes,
right? Like
exactly.
the end of both, you're like, great job, amazing. That was great. I loved the humor. I loved the story. I loved the emotional arc the characters go through. Like it's great. Like
Yes.
you really feel for, particularly in those two movies, right? Rocket Raccoon and Wolverine,
Yeah, no,
right?
those were like standouts. Like that whole rocket thing
It's
was
great.
like that fucked me up. That was like, damn, where'd
That was,
that come
that was,
from?
dude. It was. You're like, wow, that was. I mean, if you read the comics, you kind of know where it
Oh
comes from. But like,
yeah,
still,
of course.
you're like seeing it on the screen. You're like, oh,
But that's the thing. Trusting the movies to do the comics right is the thing.
exactly.
It's like,
Which is a shame. It's a shame that
mhm,
we can't trust the movies.
yeah. Like on the other hand, the new Thor one or whatever, where you got one of the most like
I don't
wild
even remember.
villains. Oh, you grab Christian Bale and have him play one of Thor's most like
Oh shit!
compelling villains, and then just make like the worst movie ever. And it's just
I
like,
totally forgot. I watched that
mhm,
movie too, but it's
yes,
just so
exactly,
forgettable. It's
exactly.
so forgettable. Whereas like, whereas like Deadpool and Wolverine could have me like on the verge of tears watching two grown men holding hands as a like slow choir piano version of Madonna's "Like a Prayer" plays.
Yeah, like it's like, damn,
It's
yeah,
called good writing,
it's
folks.
called good writing.
It's that simple. Just write good, and you can make that sentence, which sounds ridiculous, ridiculous. But if you actually watch the movie, like you're like, like it's a fucking phenomenal moment.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's just like, that's what's so great about Dandadan. It's just consistently
Exactly.
like, and it's
If
different than just a movie too, because that's a movie you gotta tell a story in your little 2.5 hours or whatever, and you're out. Obviously, the MCU just keeps going and connects, but that doesn't imply the other stuff is gonna be good. These characters could show up
yeah,
again in the most piece of trash thing ever made. But
exactly.
like with this one, it's like, oh, you get to go along with them, and it's like, it's refreshing. It's so
But yeah,
refreshing.
Dandadan's exemplary of how things should be, not just in Japan, right? Because think about
Mhm.
it. Dandadan is a lot like what we were talking about with those two Marvel movies, where um one, it's able, like you described the Dandadan plots, and it just sounds ridiculous, right? But you
Yeah.
actually read or watch them, and you're like, holy shit, right?
Yes.
Again, it's just good writing.
Yeah, like you hear, like you tell, like your average person of like this whole like, oh yeah, his dick and balls are the MacGuffin. Like it's like, wait, what? Are you serious? Is that a metaphor? No, straight up.
Yeah. No,
You
yeah.
just
Like the good writing can make the most absurd shit that like doesn't sound to the average person like it would be good. Good, right? It's
yeah.
just like like even as much as it wasn't as heavy as Acrobatic Selkie's Soki's lore. The beginning of Dandadan also has a pretty strong emotional core too, right? When
Oh yeah.
it's talking like, yeah, you have this kind of insane shit going on, or building up, especially in the very first chapter, very first episode, where you like the characters, the two main characters, kind of slowly reveal more about themselves and why they're so into the occult, their particular brands of the occult, and why like they're so kind of like at each other's throats about it at the beginning, right? Why they're so like
Mhm.
well, kind of defensive, right, about that stuff. Um, you find out it's because Momo, she comes clean about how like her grandma's a spirit medium, right? And she herself, Momo, was bullied as a kid because of like her grandma, like the superstitions and stuff, the rituals her grandma taught her, and that she would do. And she feels bad for letting that kind of color her image of her grandma for so long. And she
Oh yeah.
realized she wasn't angry that they were making fun of her. She was angry that they were making fun of her grandma, her beliefs,
Yeah.
right? And then you find out that Okarun is so passionate about aliens because he's a loner who's been bullied his whole life, who's literally never had a single friend until Momo
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
reached
which is
out to
why it
him.
was that like that whole bit too was very like well done in that it didn't take like this approach that a lot of those like romance anime or manga like to take, where again where they do this like levity thing, or it's like they keep pushing it, like where he talks about it and he suddenly opens up to her and starts nerding out about that stuff, and going off on his little magazine of all his little like conspiracy stuff, and like she laughs at first, but then she immediately like was like
She's
like
like,
steps
"Shut
back,
up,
is like,
bro."
whoa, kind of like, but also doesn't berate him. Like she, it's just a little moment there where it's just like she stopped and she was just like, "Oh shit, okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry." Like
yeah,
I
yeah.
get
She
it.
like Momo is a a normal fucking person, right? In that
Yes.
she can like things get to her, right?
Yeah.
And she often, frankly, says things she doesn't really mean, right? That's one of
Yes.
the big kind of dynamics, one of the big kind of underlying, I guess, character arcs for her. I feel is kind of learning to be kind of open about what she feels, how she feels, what she really thinks.
Hmm.
Instead of kind of doing a pseudo tsundere thing, right? Because
That's it. Yeah.
they meet when she sees how they meet. She gets dumped, right? So she's just kind of angrily stomping through the halls of her school. Um, but she sees Okun getting bullied in his class, right?
Mhm.
And so she's like, she's a good person. So she goes up and sits next to him, right, and asks him what he's reading, right. In this, yeah, he's not a loser. Look, I'm here, right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like
Mhm.
she like Momo is aware that she's a bad bitch, right.
Yeah.
So when all these guys are picking on Okaru, like you literally see it kind of on her face when she looks back at them, like, oh yeah, like you don't have me sitting next to you, but he does, like, kind of that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Um,
No, it's that interesting, like, I don't know, possessive, like defensive kind of thing she develops for Okaroon, kind of
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's just like,
It,
hey,
it's
I'll leave him alone. Like this, he ordered chicken nuggets actually.
yeah,
That
yeah,
guy.
yeah. It's yeah. It's the she is the excuse me. He ordered no mayo. Girlfriend, like that's what she is.
Yes,
Uh,
and it's very
it's
nice
funny.
to see.
It's really
Uh,
well, it's funny. It's nice. It's because it's very, how do you say it? it comes from a very genuine place for both characters,
Yeah.
right? Where again, Okarun is this shy, bullied loner. And like I think it's great that he's like Momo comes up to him and so he sees this girl come up to him asking about like what he's like a cult magazine that he's reading, and what you later find out is that like he saw that and he was like, holy shit, this is might be like my one and only chance to actually make a friend. And that's why he like chases after her when she leaves and starts like rambling about occult shit, right? Because
Mhm.
he's desperate to try to connect to her, to someone,
Yeah.
anyone really. But she's the one who made the first move, and so he doesn't want to let that go. And then later on, when they're fighting the serpents, um, and he admits, right, that like the reason he's so obsessed with aliens in particular, right, is because he had never had friends, he never had anyone really, and so ever since he was a little boy, he would kind of like go up to roofs and almost like try to like summon UFOs and
Ah,
aliens and
yes.
stuff, right? Because he felt that like if no one on Earth was going to be his friend, maybe aliens would, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Um, and so it's you kind of realize there's like a very as from the beginning, right? There's as goofy and silly and kind of weird as these characters are, there's a like there's a much deeper, very tragic, very human dimension to it all, to them.
Yeah.
That makes it more than just wacky, right? Um, so it's just good.
Yes,
It's
yeah,
just good.
yeah.
You love to see it. The anime is a great adaptation of the manga, right? Which is another
Mm.
thing, right? Where we're talking about how like, oh yeah, with modern movies in America, you can't really trust the adaptation to be you know faithful
Yeah,
to what
that's
it's
such a
adapting.
strange thing to me that like Western media struggles so hard to adapt anything, books or comics or whatever. Like it's never even remotely like even 1-to-1 or like not even like half sometimes. Where they're just like, oh, it's the same characters, but it's like, it's they have to inject their shit into it. But with
Yeah, there's
anime to manga, like of course there's bad anime adaptations as well. Not
of course.
but usually there's a higher percentage of like, oh wow, it's almost like
Yeah,
perfect.
they're very
It's like,
faithful to the original material,
yeah,
which
like
you don't really
it's
see over here.
just like
In some sense,
inspired.
I can see why. I can see. I'll come up with a bit of a defense, which is that
Mhm.
I think it's a lot easier for a medium like manga, comics, basically, to be translated to animation,
Yeah.
right? Whereas we don't really like the West doesn't really do that. The West translates from other media to live action film mainly,
Mainly, yeah.
and
But
that's a whole
then
different thing. I
then
think
you have
like
the odd little outliers of where they do put it to animation and still drop the ball. And it's like,
that's
come
true.
on.
That is true. I think well, even then, I think a lot of it is because mainly, even when they do translate it to animation, they're doing it into animated feature films.
Right, yeah.
And again, I think when it comes to live action, again, live action is just there's things you can do in animation and just drawings that like don't work really in
Mhm.
live action, right? That would
Yeah.
just like ridiculous. It just don't. I'm not saying it doesn't work entirely, but like
There's some stuff that's like,
it takes a very skilled
yeah.
like vision like, because I'm thinking of stuff like The Matrix is a great example of something that's like this could have been an anime or a manga or something, and it would have worked just as well
Mhm.
as a movie, right? But because the Wachowskis like knew what they were doing, it works as a live action film.
Yeah,
Whereas I don't think most people have the sauce to do that. I
that's
don't
the
think
thing.
most people working in the industries. I mean, even in Japan, right? Like, how many times like Japan does live action adaptations, and no one ever really talks
Oh,
about them because
yeah,
they largely suck.
that's fair. That is very fair.
They largely suck. When it comes to live action adaptations, it's not just that like, oh, the industry's degraded. It's no, I don't think even at an industry's peak can live ad like even at an industry's peak, like people who have the sauce to do good live action adaptations of non live action mediums, or it's rare, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
It's
rare.
but then it becomes an interesting question of like why a adjacent animation industry didn't explode here because of the billions of comic books and things like that that could
Yeah,
have been done. They could
which
have
would be
followed the Japanese thing of like manga
yeah,
to anime.
exactly.
Do your like, oh, you get your Invincible and a handful of like Marvel animated shows from like ages ago, like, but they felt more like kids shows. Like, it's like, oh yeah, I remember from my childhood watching like X-Men 97 or things like that. And
Well, that's kind of the problem, right? Is that like comics, by and large, and this is the source for all of this stuff, right? Is one,
Mhm.
like I was saying, even even animated adaptations in the West are largely feature film
Yeah,
adaptations,
yeah,
right?
for the most part that's the main
And
thing
and
everyone
and
wants to do. Everything's got to be a
everything has
movie.
to be a movie, and it's just like, well, like you have these like sprawling comic storylines, and you're trying to put that into a 2 hour movie. Not gonna happen, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. Like that needs to be a series. But then even then, comics, in the West never really made the jump that they did in Japan, and really, Asia in general. If you read like manhwa and I forgot what they're called in China, but um, to like being seen as like not just for kids,
Right.
right? Like we're still very much in that like comics animation that's a kids thing
Mhm.
mentality here in the West. Which means get we don't get the same level quality of stuff that Japan does, because as far as the people running the industries are concerned, there's no market for it. There totally is, but they don't think
Oh,
so.
yeah, that's the
They,
eternal problem with all that stuff. So we got to appeal to the most people possible across the entire planet.
I don't even think it's that. I genuinely think they just don't think like adults or like even like teenagers really like want like animated or comics for them,
Yeah.
right? I genuinely think that's what it is, right? Because like the stuff you get in anime and manga is like it's I don't know, you're not gonna get the same shit as comics by and large over here,
Right.
because there's just a cultural attitude around them, right? Where it's like, I mean, what like comic series can you think of from over here that aren't like superhero stories with like very like for the large part kind of simplistic?
The Walking Dead, but that got its unending TV series
I was gonna say,
adaptations. Even then, for
I'm just
whatever
thinking
reason, weren't super accurate, which
like
was, I guess, strange.
the only real example I could think of is like Scott Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim, but even then, it's still like superhero adjacent, kind of. It's still got that
It's
like
adjacent, but
flair to
like
it.
it's the closest thing I could think of in like Western comics that's like close to like anime type shit that's like gotten any kind of success or traction, right? Where it's like, I mean, I don't like. There's nothing like Dandadan or Chainsaw Man, right? Which even that's kind of like superhero adjacent, but it's also like, I mean, a lot of shonen, frankly, you could consider shonen like superhero adjacent, but like
Yeah.
it's so different in how it treats powers and protagonists, main casts, and their relations to all that stuff in the world at large that it's like it doesn't feel the same
Right.
because
Yeah.
it's not really even if like again Chainsaw Man, Dandadan, like they're in like superhero comics like they're like if you boil them down, they're stories about dudes with superpowers saving
Yeah.
people.
Right. Of course.
But like when you actually like go through them, you're like, well, this is not the same,
Yeah. No,
right? It's
there's a very
not
different method and vibe to it, and
exactly.
yeah.
And and so you just you don't have what the Western industries never really expanded beyond superheroes and like kid stuff, right?
Yeah. That's a good point. That got into the slightly more popular sphere. I'm sure you can find your
You can find this
weird indie
there's
stuff here and there, and
yeah.
you know,
There is it's not to say that this stuff
yeah,
doesn't exist over here, right?
yeah, of course, of course. It's
Like again, you brought up like I mean it's still like superhero stuff, but like I feel like Invisible's like kind of getting there a bit. But like
Hmm,
even then you have stuff like the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comics are like insane. They're
yeah,
great. I love them. They're fucking
yeah.
raw as fuck.
But they
Um,
gotta get a movie, is what they've decided. No,
well, they
actually,
decided
no.
they gotta
That
have a cartoon.
Yeah, well, they got their cartoons, but like you keep hitting that weird cycle, or that like with TMNT specifically, like you get your comics, you get your cartoon shows, then they tried the live actions, and then they did a couple of those, and then it went back to like cartoons and stuff, and then they tried live actions again with like the Michael Bay ones, and they're
Yeah.
like, bro,
But
stop.
the whole point is I mean one yeah a lot you'll notice that a lot of things we bring up when it comes to the Western side are old,
Yeah,
right?
there it
They're
is.
old
Yeah.
now. I can't think of anything really new, and maybe that's just on me. But like I don't know, I can't really think of anything newer that really scratches that itch. Like
Yeah, no, same. I've been
Teenage
out of it
Mutant
for
Ninja
a
Turtles is
while
like over 30
too.
years old now.
Hmm.
Invincible and Scott Pilgrim are like going up on like 20 years. Like it's been a while for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like again, this stuff exists, right? You have stuff like um, you know, you have heavier kind of superhero material from back in like the 90s, like Watchmen or Killing Joke. But again, and that even that still kind of ties into what we were just kind of getting to, where it's like we have a problem with just not having new shit in general. We just
Hmm.
keep
Hmm.
recycling the same old shit,
Yeah. And
right? But
oversaturation of it too, because there's just so much of
oversaturation,
that old stuff. And it's like,
again, so much of Western comics is just superhero shit,
mhm,
and so much of that is the same superhero shit, right? That we've been like running since the 50s, basically, for a lot of this stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Superman, I love Batman, right? I love Hulk, I love Spider-Man, I love Iron Man,
oh
I
yeah.
love all that shit. But at some point, you gotta go. Like, your time, dude, it's over.
Yeah.
like, like they're like it's always weird to like it's kind of weird to me, right? That like I grew up like reading like Superman comics, and like so did like boomers who were kids in the 50s. That's kind of
Oh
nutty.
yeah.
That's kind of nutty, right? Like I mean, I don't think it's bad intrinsically, but like I think like you do kind of get to a point where like the sauce gets lost.
Yeah.
The sauce gets
Certified
lost.
cultural stagnation moment.
Yeah, like I don't want to just see Batman and Green Lantern and you know Spider-Man and shit get recycled again and again forever, right?
Yeah.
I've lived through 3 different Spider-Man movie continuities.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
Yep. And then we're on our third Batman one as well.
Yeah, exactly. So like like
Oh, we're about to be on our third Superman one as well. No, maybe more than that actually, because there's all the TV
oh
shows
god.
as well.
And again,
Anyway, yeah.
it's not like I even like dislike any of this stuff, right?
Hmm.
You know, we've had way more than 3 like live action Batman continuities if you go back to like the 60s show,
Oh yeah,
right?
if you go that far back, yeah, of
Yeah, but like
course.
I love the goofy fucking 60s show. It's phenomenal. It's great.
Hmm.
I love the Dark Knight trilogy. I love the new Batman movie. It's great.
That
It's
one, yeah.
good.
Yes, it is.
But again, at some point you kind of just go like, well, where's like something new? Where's the new stories?
Yeah.
Right? Like that's what's so great about anime, right? Is it's like I mean, you have some stuff that just like never ends, right? Like
Oh,
Dragon
of
Ball or
course.
One Piece, right? But like for the
Yeah.
most part, like like you get great stuff like Death Note, and then it's over.
Yeah. Yeah. A
It
quick
tells the
little
story,
like popular
and
thing,
then
and
and
yeah.
it tells the story, and then it's done, right? It says what it wants to. Anime like Code Geass,
Oh
great
yeah.
show. It tells a story in like 2 cores. It's done. Steins Gate, another great example, right? Great story. It tells a story, and then that's it, right?
Yeah.
And then that's it. It doesn't. Anime and manga tend to know when to just stop, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. For the
Like
most part, yes.
as for the
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
part, but like it's one of those things where it's like I would love, for instance, to like know more about L's adventure, like cases before the Kira case in Death Note,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah.
But I
That
don't
would be
mind not.
fascinating.
It would be great, but I
Yeah.
don't mind not having that,
That's the
right?
thing. That's the thing with a lot of these where it's like it happens and you love it and you just like part of you wishes to see more of that world, but then the other part of you is like, no, I'm satisfied. It's done. It's like, I don't want to see this
Yeah,
thing get milked to death as many other things
exactly,
do. I want to see this get like,
exactly.
oh, like gorillion franchises and
Yeah,
spin-offs, and it's like yeah, sometimes where it's just like, but it would be cool to get more, and it's this funny little like conflict of little like consumer brain of just like, need more of this, and then it's just like, no, you
well,
gotta respect the
if it's good, right, that like it's one of those things where it's just like I take that whenever you finish something and you're like, God, I wish there was more. I personally think that's great, right? Because that means the story was good. It means you liked what you read, watched, played, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, like that means it did its job. That you want to see more. But also, again, it's important to understand that like sometimes shit just has to end,
Yeah, exactly.
right? There's an end point that let's just say, okay, we've said all we could, we've done all we
Mhm.
could. It's time to move on to new things.
I pray Fujimoto does that with Chainsaw Man.
I do too, and frankly, it
It's
seems like that's what he's like
yeah, but I
what he's
thought that
doing, right?
with the first part, what, like, that chapter 98, I thought it was going to be done there. I would have been
You would have been happy.
satisfied. I'd have been like, all right, I'm good.
It's good. That's it. That was a great story,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
it's like
but
it's
then
it's
it
still
goes
going
on.
great.
But you're like, oh, this is that's the thing is even when anime manga stuff like tends to like even when it continues, a lot of the time it it still does new things.
Yeah. There's still
It doesn't just continue the same shit over and over again. It doesn't recycle the same plots and ideas over and over again. It actually does new things, right? Chainsaw Man's a great example. Part two is not part one, which is like,
no.
I know, obvious, but like in terms of in so many aspects, right? Tone, right? Like
Mhm.
plot, even kind of writing in a way, right? Like it's a whole different vibe from part one, and I love it for it, right? It's
Yeah.
Fujimoto said, look, I got this popular thing, but this story, this part of the story is over, right? So I'm gonna tell a different story. I mean, hell, the protagonist has basically been changed, right? Like
Oh
it's not
yeah.
really
Like,
Denji anymore. It's
yeah, he's
Asa.
just kind of the side guy. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's only in more recent chapters that he kind of like.
that he's like made a real comeback as like a
Yeah.
like secondary protagonist, maybe.
Basically, yeah. Yeah, because
Um,
he's interesting. He's kind of just he feels like a plot device, but not in like a bad way. Like he's just kind of getting
well,
dragged along.
he like totally is, but you're okay with it
Oh
because you
yeah,
just had a whole first part of the story where you get to know him and see that he's a real character with real like shit going on, right? So
exactly.
you're kind of okay with him like becoming just really just a plot device later on, because even then, frankly, I mean, Fujimoto's still writing him well, right? Like there's still stuff going on with him. It's just more subdued.
Mhm.
Or you get stuff like bringing up Steins Gate. Frankly, Steins Gate is an example of this, right? Where the first entry in the visual novel series it stemmed from, Chaos Head, is a whole different fucking beast than Steins
Oh,
Gate.
oh, of course, yeah.
In fact, if you weren't like directly like told, I don't think most people would know that like Steins Gate is a sequel to Chaos Head, even though it has the same like like semicolon like styled title, and if you pay attention there's references, but like the vibe is different, the atmosphere,
Yeah.
the sci-fi mechanics for the most part, the cast is totally different. You really only get like a small handful of references to the events of Chaos Head in Steins Gate, even less so in the anime. You get like
Oh
one
yeah.
reference, I think. um but like Steins Gate is a sequel to Chaos Head,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It stems directly from it. So like even when like it decides like Japanese creators decide to continue stuff, like they do a whole different thing with it. Like no, when I still remember back when Steins Gate was first announced and I already knew about Chaos Head. I'd seen it, um which I know, grown, the anime sucks, but like hey, whatever. um I would eventually, not too long after Steins Gate's announcement, actually play the visual novel. Um, and it's like I remember thinking, like it was gonna be similar to Chaos Head, right? I
Yeah.
was basically expecting something along the lines of Chaos Child, right?
Right. Yes.
The kind of true like sequel to Chaos Head, I guess. Not really, because even then it's a
Even
whole
then,
different
it's
cast, whole
also
different plot, everything too. But like
yeah,
it deals with the same like mechanics and lore.
and
It's in the same
direct
setting.
fallout from the events
Yes,
of
direct
Chaos
fallout
Head.
of Chaos Head. Yeah. But like so when Steins Gate, when I eventually did watch Steins Gate, I was like, whoa, what does this have to like what?
Yeah.
Like what does this have anything to do with Chaos Ed? Eventually, eventually, if you get like real into the weeds of it, you realize, oh, this has a lot to do with Chaos Ed. Actually, it's just not in the way I think Western media kind of trains people to think
Right.
about this stuff. Another great example, I think, is Yoko Taro and his Draken Near series, right? Like everyone knows about Near Automata, right? Sexy androids, alien machine life form organisms. then you play the first game in the Nier series, Nier, and you're like, what the fuck does this have to do with Nier Automata? Like, what? Like, this is like a fantasy setting, like a post-apocalyptic fantasy setting. Like, what? I mean, I guess the apocalyptic part kind of like makes sense, but like, what does this have to do with the events of Nier Automata? And then, of course, you play the game and you're like, oh, this has a lot to do with the events of Nier Automata. This isn't what it seems to be, right? And then you play what's technically the true first game in the series that leads into Nier, Drakengard, which is just not even in the same universe technically, but hey, the true ending in it's a fantasy like game where you like you're like a dragon rider, right, fighting God. And you're like, what does this have to do with Nier? And then you're like, oh, the true ending of the game, you just transport into Tokyo in the 2003.
Of
you,
course. Yeah.
you fight God in Tokyo and you kill God, you win, but then you get struck down by like an F-22, basically. and then again, if you dig into the weeds of Nier, you're like, oh, that leads into Nier. What the? Oh, okay. Right. So even when they're like continuing stuff, even when the story they originally want to tell is just done, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Even when they still could, they then just go on to continue it. They just do it in such a weird and unique way. They don't do just the same thing, right? You don't just get Chaos Head 2. You don't just get Nier 2, right? You get Steins Gate. You get Nier Automata, right? And you just don't see that here, really. Like, you don't see. I don't know. Like, people just don't got the sauce here, man. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
Specifically.
Well, even then, I don't really even know of any stories that kind of do stuff like that, where it's just like, or like series that do stuff like that, where it's just like, we're gonna do something wholly different. This is the sequel. This is a sequel. This is in the same world, but we're gonna do something wholly different. And I don't consider like superhero stuff where it's just like, oh well, it's Iron Man and Thor, and you have all this weird different stuff happening in the same world. It's like, okay, but that's kind of like, that's not how it was originally planned, and we all know that, right? Like,
Right.
obviously the movies were, but like the comics didn't go in like that.
Right.
Right. That like the whole like Marvel DC universes are kind of an accident. Right. These were originally their own self-contained stories, and then they kind of later retconned them like, oh well, this is all the DC universe now. You have the Flash and Batman and Superman, they're all in the same world. That's why a lot of these kind of comic continuities have things that like, I mean, it's been like nerd arguments forever, like, oh, this doesn't make sense, right? Like, like why doesn't Superman help Batman in Gotham, right?
Yeah, it's that thing of they have to always make excuses for, or just brush it under the rug.
They just don't. They just don't.
Like,
right.
Oh, why wasn't this character at this, world-shattering event, or blah blah blah? And it's like, realistically, we didn't have the rights to this character, but story-wise,
or it's just that like these stories are not, again, they like these stories, these creations were not originally built to work together with other creations, right?
Yeah.
Like Gotham, like Batman and his whole like environment of Gotham was not built to all coexist with what's it called in Metropolis?
Yeah.
Metropolis. It was not built to coexist with Superman's Metropolis. It wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
None of this stuff was built to work together. It was just supposed to be, this is a world where you have this one hero in this one place. Maybe globally if you have like Thor or something, I don't know. They just weren't built in this way. And I think that's the big difference, right? Is Steins Gate was built from the ground up to work with Chaos Head. Nier Automata was built from the ground up to work with Nier. Nier was built from the ground up to work with the events of Drakengard ending E.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. It really does feel like I don't know. I mean, it's not even feel, right? It just kind of is, right? Like Western creative industries are creatively bankrupt.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not getting anything as cool or weird or interesting or like well put together, thought out as stuff we're getting out of Japan, and that's a shame, right? Because it's not
Yes, it
like
is.
it's not like Japan's like uniquely like creative or anything. Like we could totally do stuff, our own interesting stuff.
We've had this conversation off the air, but the whole we don't have this infrastructure, for lack of a better word, to help like develop that. Like
Yeah,
this, like this, where anyone like, and the example I think I used when we talked about that before was with One Punch Man,
yeah.
and making
One
his
Punch
little his
Man,
little
Mob
rough little
Psycho.
web comic, yeah, make the little funny little web comics and stuff, and then it just gets it gets picked up by a professional manga studio with Murata, like a professional artist, to
Mhm.
actually do this justice because he's such a good writer, and it's like,
Yeah,
and it's just like, oh, they just have that,
I mean,
pipeline where that could
they
just
have that.
happen,
Yeah, so many of like the greatest manga turn anime or light novels turn anime like start out as just like shit made by random dudes on the internet,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, and then
One
here
in
it's
one
like,
in his
does
works.
it happen? Like, oh, sorry, you got to post to Itch or Newgrounds or like something like that, and it's just kind of becomes a niche little thing. It's not like, oh, this creation of like these artists, it's like, oh, straight from like college to the comic industry or whatever, and it's rarely you hear people just getting picked up to make like a professional
To make what they want.
serialized thing, yeah, to make what they want without interference.
Yeah. Because even if
So
like even those who do make it like start largely just get told, hey, like make the next Superman comic,
that's, yeah, they set the bar
make the next
like just
Daredevil.
insanely high. It's like, oh, sorry, your idea isn't gonna sell 100 billion copies on the first issue. Sorry, you're next
Which is funny because like a lot of this slop doesn't sell great
at all.
anyways,
Like, just period.
or
Yeah,
like at all. Yeah.
yeah,
So it's like I don't. Again, it really just is a very outdated mentality. I think that's driving this.
yeah.
Outdated mentality, and I think a big thing too that's talked about a bit, but not that much is just nepotism. Right,
Mhm.
is another factor in this. I think the creative industries in the West are very nepotistic, very corrupt. Right, like a lot of
Mhm.
people who I think that's another big part of frankly of why we have so much swap is because it's like, well, frankly, people who just don't got the sauce are being allowed into the industries because they know a guy or they're someone's son or daughter, and so they get the preferential treatment while the people with the sauce are just kind of kept. They're told to fuck off, right?
Yeah,
They were, it's basically like, I don't know, maybe put up your webcomic on fucking Webtoon or something. Hope you get noticed.
yeah,
Like
exactly,
that's what, yeah. Like you don't get any institutional support from the industry. You just get told to fuck off if you don't like know someone. And a lot of the people who do know someone, you know, just again they don't got the sauce.
exactly.
They don't got it. And so you get this you get to the state where we are now, which is like this like we're not really producing that much great stuff, right? We can still make our the Batmans, our Wolverine, Deadpool, Wolverine, right? Our
Mhm.
our Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but like I said earlier, we're not making Dondadons,
No, no.
right? We're not making Nears. We're not making you know we're not making Death Stranding. We're not making Metal Gear. We're not making Chainsaw Man. Like we're We're kind of just regurgitating stuff. We're doing some of that stuff that's regurgitated can be good, can be really good, but I think a lot of the time it's not great.
Yeah.
Which I think is a shame because I think there are people here, there just has to be, right, who can make great stuff too if they're just given the shot, right? Which again, we don't have, we don't let people, we don't give
Hmm.
people the shot. We don't let them have a shot. We don't have like Mushoku Tensei, the grandfather of isekai, of modern isekai, right? Which
Hmm.
now has a really great anime adaptation that started
Right.
as
Yeah.
just a web novel, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's
Um,
Lord, I see what you've done for others. I would
yeah,
ask you to do the same for me.
yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Imagine if we had that kind of setup, right? Where it's just just write stuff online
Or
and
even,
you'll get picked up.
geez, even
Draw.
just the old days, like where we did have something like that in the past, but it died a long time ago. The whole like sending it into a magazine, a little like you're like I forget the specific names, but you know what I'm talking about, like the stuff that like Lovecraft would submit to, or different writers of like that
Like
caliber
Weird
would like,
Tales.
yeah, like
Yeah.
Weird Tales, stuff like that, like where you could just compile, like everyone just get together, compile a bunch of little silly short stories or whatever, and and then you can take
No,
off
you're
from
you're
there.
right.
And it's like now it's
You're
like
right.
good luck doing that. Like, oh,
And
do it by yourself if you
and
want,
a
but
lot of great stuff came out of that, right? I mean, Lovecraft
yeah,
is the big example, right? But you get Robert E. Howard, right? And like Conan the Barbarian,
yes,
right?
exactly. All those like
John Carter
serialized stuff.
Mars. Like you get really great stuff,
Yeah,
right? I mean, fuck, we got like Dune out of that. We got Asimov's Foundation series out of that. Like
yes,
a lot of, again, it's just let people do their thing, and you'll get great stuff. You'll make bank.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, just have an infrastructure for that stuff again. Like, just
I
it goes the same for like people with small budget movies and indie films. That's the same like discussion that's been happening there for a long time.
Yeah,
It's like oh,
is
you can
no one,
you can make a ton of money off these like super low budget movies if you just give people the chance. Like,
or even just like relatively low budget movies, because right, because everything has to be like
oh,
300
exactly,
fucking
yeah,
million dollars
yeah.
now,
They
right? It's
make
just
it
like,
assuming it's going to make a billion every time. So they're like, oh, it doesn't matter if we dump 300 million into this, who's going to make a billion, right? It's like, nope, flop every time. You make, good luck making half that. Like,
it's ridiculous, right? It's
mhm.
ridiculous. Because you get so many like, are they like staples of the household, right? Maybe not, but you get so many great movies out of when you did have a plethora of studios and not just like a handful, like we do now.
Mhm.
But when you had people just willing to be like, here, he's like $5 million, go make a movie, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Yeah. Or not even like, not
we
even that. Geez, like Terrifier movies. First one was like a million, maybe, not even.
exactly.
And then by the third one, they're making like triple the budget, and it's just like,
Yeah,
that's how you
exactly.
do it. That's how you do it.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. You
just
gotta.
recently, again, Japan completely showed up the West by being like, here's Godzilla minus one. It was like $10 million. Oh,
Yes.
we made like 116 million back. Sweet.
Yeah, yeah. They did like yeah, popped off, and it was so funny. That's related to the Terrifier one. I saw someone mention somewhere. It's like, oh, everyone wants to make a Terrifier 3, but no one wants to make a Terrifier 1. Like you gotta
Exactly.
like you gotta start somewhere type of thing, and to give it the chance, basically, not just, oh,
Exactly.
sorry, ban this thing to Shutter forever and no one's gonna
Yeah.
see it,
I
or
mean,
like,
again, like look at all the great movies from like the 80s, right? That were just like indie films that like, yeah, did they do all that well? Probably not, like by modern standards, especially.
mm,
But like, I love Street Trash. I love Buckaroo Banzai, right?
yes,
I love um Basket Case, right? Like
Chud and
Chud, um, Return of the Living Dead, like all these movies. That does everyone know about them? No, but they're still great fucking movies, man.
Mhm.
Like, I will remember those movies till the day I die, right?
Yes.
I'm always gonna remember, you know, Buckaroo Banzai over like whatever like $300 million Marvel slop just came out, right? I'm always gonna
Yeah.
remember, Clash of Nukem High or the Toxic Avenger
Oh my god.
over fucking
Trauma
Ant-Man and
in
the Wasp
general.
or yeah, yeah, exactly. That classic Trauma shit, right? Chopping Mall, not Trauma, but still, it's a great movie.
Yes.
That stuff is always gonna like be near and dear to not just my heart, but plenty of other, you know, B movie enjoyers' hearts
Yeah.
for forever, right? And Quantumania is not, right? Toy Story 5 is not,
Yeah. That just gave me the
right?
funniest idea of like, damn, Dandadan could get like a fucking like, give that thing like a B movie budget for like a common rider, like Power Ranger style, like
Jesus Christ.
show. Do that in the good old days.
But yeah, so like again, yeah, like you totally could have gotten like, man, just let people be weird again. Let people do their thing. Like just you will make money.
Yes. There it is. That's the slogan. Let people no, I may need to say it. I was gonna say let people make weird things within, as long as it's cool.
I was about to say like this kind of tackles the other part of the problem we were kind of getting to, right? Is the whole like I think another problem that has to be addressed has to be. I'm sorry to say it, folks. There's a difference between like weird that's like good and like trying too hard.
Yeah, there's the weird just for the sake of being weird and not like above all, oh, or they
Oops.
may be clueless, the person making it, but it gives off that like
Well, so I've said this a lot again in private conversations, where it's like a big problem that Western industries have is that you have too many people who want to be auteurs,
mm-hmm. Yes.
right? You have way too many people who want to be the next Stanley Kubrick, right? Who want to be the next Mobius, right? If when it comes to
Yeah.
like comics, um, they. Well, like, I'm sorry to say, but way too many people kind of like get up their like they get their heads up their own ass, man. They have their own farts,
Yeah.
right? And you have this frankly dumb mentality, I think, where like every work of art has to say something,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, everyone's trying to have a message. Everyone's trying to like speak about something, and it's one of those things where it's just like, look, if you really like have something to say about an issue or like just some kind of topic, some kind of like, if you have something you want to get out in there into the world, like go ahead. But I think a lot of people seem to just they don't have something to say. They have to say something, right?
Ah, yes, there it is.
Eh, yeah, it's just like again, a lot of these like, what the fuck does Buckaroo Banzai have to say about the world?
Yeah, yeah,
Nothing. The
exactly.
answer is
It's just
nothing. The answer is nothing. It has nothing to say about the world, right? What does Big Trouble in Little China have to say about the world, right? Like
uh there's a magic Chinese empire under San Francisco. Duh.
exactly, like but like
Real.
that you get what I true sacred disclosure, right? Like no, yeah, um, but like you get what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah,
it's not that
exactly.
like
Yeah, yeah. It's just a fun
you can make
adventure.
shit
It's
just for
like,
fun. You can
yeah,
make shit just for
exactly.
fun. There's so many times I want to just shake artists by the fucking head, just grab them by the shoulders and shake them. You can make things just for fun,
Mhm.
right? You don't have to have a political message or this big, like, social, like, something to say about a big social topic, issue, whatever. Like, you can just make something for fun. You
Yes.
could do that. That's fine. It's fucking it's fucking necessary. Even I would say it's welcome. It's welcome.
Yes,
I think
exactly.
a lot of people are tired of political messaging
Yes.
in their stuff because a lot of time, again, like I said, it's just not done well. It's clear that
Mhm.
people have to say something and not have something to say, right? You know, people, um, I don't know. It's like people always bring out like, oh, well, like, you know, some of your favorite stuff political, Metal Gear, Deus Ex. You know, it's like, yeah, but like, it's good.
There it is. Yeah,
It's,
that's the. It's hey, like oh, you could do that if it's good,
if
and
it's
like,
good.
but it has to be like
We
you know.
well again, like we were saying earlier, when it comes to like the whole like Dandadan's ridiculous, but it's good. So
Yes,
it's like
exactly.
it could do that. Like you could do pretty much anything if you do it good.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it is, of course, it's you know life getting in the way, but we have all our ideas for our stuff we'd want to make, and it's like but we're in a position where we, you know, it's that thing of like we have all these ideas and all these world buildings and all these like zillion great concepts and why everyone around here keeps saying, "Oh wow, Dandadan is so Fray core." Like, that's something he would make. It's just like it's like yeah, like we a lot of us have these kinds of ideas, but we don't have a means to get to that. Like aside from you know, like oh, what do you
Well,
want
I
to do?
mean,
It's just
like
kind of like suck it up
it's
and actually start
demoralizing
like demoralizing us. But we're trying to fight it a little bit. At least it's
a little
difficult,
bit,
but
but it's
it's
hard.
like
It is hard,
it
right?
is hard.
Because
Yeah.
you like you do go like, well, what are the odds of this?
Popping off. Yeah.
What are the odds of anyone giving a shit, right? Of anyone caring,
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing.
right?
It's like
And it's one of those things where it's like it's not like the world of anime and manga is this like haven where anyone and everyone is successful and does great, right? Like
hmm,
there's plenty of series, right, that get canceled like after like 20 chapters, right, because they don't do well,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
right? There's plenty of anime that you know
Just don't get
get
another season. It's
yeah,
simple. Like
exactly.
it just does
They get one
something. It
pour
does
and that's it.
yeah, and then it never gets back to it. Still waiting
Yeah.
on quite a few series like that, and it's really
Oof.
yeah, that's
Oh yeah.
depressing. It's like damn, it was so good.
Yeah, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? But like again, you have stories like one story, like the creator of Mushoku Tensei, like the creator of Log Horizon. You have all these so many stories of guys who were just normal dudes who are like, I'm just gonna put my shit out there, and
Hmm,
and it succeeds so well. They have anime adaptations, right?
yeah,
You you don't really have that, right? I know someone once tried to tell me like, oh, well, you like the Martian was like a web novel that was then made into a Hollywood movie. Yeah, from like 2000, like the web novel from like 2011.
yeah,
I think it might have even started earlier than that, like 2008, right? Like, is that just one? I can't think of anything else, and he couldn't think of anything else either, really, besides
hmm,
The Martian,
yeah,
right?
right.
Everything else, like, I mean, what? Let's see. I'll do my best to like come up with others. There was the Slender Man movie,
Ooh,
but that sucked.
yeah,
You had that one like sci-fi channel show that like adapted creepypastas. I never watched
uh,
that though. I think it might have been bad. I don't know. I can't say for sure though. I don't remember
yeah.
anyone really talking about it all that much. The only other story like this I could think of is Kane Pixels
Oh
getting
yes,
a 24 deal for his Backrooms series. He's
yeah.
making a Backrooms movie. I guess maybe Skinamarink
Oh
might
yeah, I was just
count.
that just came to mind because yeah, no, because the guy was just a YouTube channel who used to just make videos that were of that vibe, and then they just made a movie and it did decently well for what it
It did
was.
pretty well. Yeah, but
It's
like
just
again, it's a small handful of stories like that you can pull out of the ether here. Whereas like frankly, you have too many to count in Japan,
oh
right?
geez, yeah, yeah. It's like infinite. You're just like, oh god, all this stuff sounds good. There's no way I can read like 500 million series or
Yeah, and so
watch
much.
or
Yeah, and so much of it is just like dudes who were given a chance.
yeah,
And again, so it's demoralizing that we don't, you have to be. It's an exceedingly rare situation here, at least in kind of the current era. I mean, we were talking about, like 100 years ago now, like
Mhm.
pulp, stuff. By and large, we just don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
We just don't, you know, we don't have kind of the societal industry infrastructure for that kind of stuff. Even though, like, again, you think we would with like the internet, it wouldn't be hard,
Mhm.
right? It wouldn't be
You'd think
hard for
so,
like
but apparently,
some some Western company to be like, hey, we're gonna make a website that's basically like Webtoon, say. Make your comics, upload them, and then whatever is like the top biggest shit, eventually we'll start making animated series adaptations for them.
yeah, that would be. Oh man, that'd
That'd
be
be
so
awesome.
good.
That's
There'd be
what
so
Japan
many.
does.
Yeah.
That's what Japan does. I- Again, like, we don't have websites like that. We don't have any kind of website. It's like, hey, write a serialized, not like short novel series or something. Write whatever you want, really. Frankly, we'll make a comic out of it. We'll get someone to draw a comic out of it, right?
Yeah.
Like again, we get with like again, we don't see any of this. We don't see this drive to be like, let's see what people can come up with. Let's see if we can find the next generation of great artists, of great creatives coming up with insane, cool, groundbreaking stories. It's just let's just do the same thing again and again and again and again, right?
Yeah.
Let's just have the same boomers and Gen Xers working on the same shit forever, basically. And they're millennial underlings who we don't let do anything of their own. Like, let's just uh, like what the fuck, man?
Yeah. It's
It's
quite
just,
frustrating. It's like to even be done about it, aside from just still trying anyway.
I mean, yeah, right.
Yeah.
You gotta still do stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because as much as things may be against you, like, um, oh well,
Yeah.
like that's just it is what it is, right? You just gotta deal, right?
Yeah. Pretty
You either do it
much.
or you don't, right? Even if
Yeah.
it gets nowhere, even if like maybe only your circle of friends ever sees what you do,
Yeah.
at least it's out there. At
Yeah.
least you're doing something,
Yeah. You
right?
tried, and you know, at least it's something to be, I don't know, proud of creatively. Like, oh, you did something instead of nothing at all, and just well,
Yeah, especially if you're really trying to like kind of push the boundaries, if you're really trying to break the paradigms, right? You're just doing cool shit, right?
yeah, exactly.
Like we need more of that. We need more cool shit. We need more cool new shit, new characters, new stories, new worlds, new sagas. Like just give me cool new shit because we don't have a lot of that, right? We really
Yeah,
don't. It's
that's why it's up to us to.
we gotta do it. It's our job. That's what you're here for. If you're listening to this, if you're listening to Layer One, that's our mission to you. Make cool shit. Do it yourself. If you ever see something you man and you go, man, this sucks. I wish there was this but cooler. Then do it yourself, buddy.
Yeah, you know, and let us know. Like, I don't know, just share us, poke us somewhere, curiosities or
Shit.
one of our
Do you think
pages, and
maybe?
we
Do
do
you
it.
think
We
maybe that's
become
what
that.
we should do? We should become the like, hey,
Send us your stuff, though. You know, or just yeah. I mean, why not? We're coming up with this on the spot, but you know, it's literally just if
we
you
gotta
can.
develop this idea. But like, yeah,
Yeah,
like,
but like
you know,
you know, even then, just as a start, just if you're making cool stuff, stories or comics or manga or
yeah.
art or whatever, like
just whatever.
Let us know.
Video series, an ARG, like, yeah, fuck, that's what we should do. Again, we got to develop this, but like, yeah, some kind of online hub for like, hey, are you doing your own thing?
Yeah,
Send it to us. Here it is. We'll put it
a
for everyone to
logical
see.
extension of Schizopunk media anyway, because that's that concept, but just
but for our friends
in-house, yeah, like in-house type of thing. But of course, that like can be expanded upon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, don't black pill. We might sound kind of annoyed and demoralized about stuff, but no,
because we are.
Still, well, we are, but we're still coming up with ideas for things.
We're still schizopunks. We're still, we're still, you got to do it. You got to do it to them.
You just gotta. You gotta.
So yeah,
we'll have our own stories.
Well, yeah.
And
we'll
update.
We'll update on this idea of like, hey, you gotta shit you're making. Send us a link and we'll fucking we'll hot link you, baby. We'll have a whole database of like, hey, you like. Here's this cool ass fucking comic. Here's this cool ass web novel or fucking video series, something, anything. Well, yeah, we'll develop this and then we'll let everyone know. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's fair enough. Hey, something new, progression with the ideas here. Cool.
Yeah. This was the longest tangent we've ever gone on. I think we were going to talk about something totally different in relation to Dandadan, but we just decided to pop off about how much we hate the modern creative industries.
But to be fair, at least it's something else. I mean, otherwise we'd have been going into the plot and we would have been like, haha, cryptids, oh, Dover Demon, Flatwoods Monster, like aliens are.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
It would have been a little bit of a rehash of stuff, which fair. I mean, it's thematically connected to stuff we talk about, but
it is.
Everyone and their mom's probably talking about Dandadan right now, and
I do feel that no one's really talking about it in terms of how it connects to these kind of ideas.
Yeah, exactly. There it
is. The paranormal we're talking about.
Or the connections here.
So we'll do a little bit of that here at the end, I guess. Is so that we can justify having a cool esoteric title.
Yes, exactly. And to be fair, this could deserve another one in the future when the series is done as a whole and like a little like
definitely
retrospective type of thing.
It's definitely early days, but
yeah.
So one of the things that's interesting about Dandadan as the actual like in-universe series lore is how like aliens and yokai, spirits, demons, cryptids, all paranormal stuff basically like is connected in some way.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Kind of like we've been talking about in American Shinto stuff. Is kind of, you almost get the sense that like, I mean, how would you describe it? Right? Because like the aliens have like psychic powers and stuff, right?
Which can be negated by humans who can use psychic powers, and like they can actually, go toe to toe with the aliens because of that, as well as the aliens hiring cryptids as mercenaries, basically.
Well, you find out that like most cryptids are just aliens.
Oh yeah, there's that. Yeah, I mean, with that Dover Demon one, it's like. And the Flatwood Monster, I guess, it's like, well, yeah, technically, if you look at them, you're like, that's probably an alien. It's like, oh, Dover Demon, that's a feral gray. Like, it clearly...
yeah. So a lot of, I mean, a lot of cryptids in cryptid kind of, in the cryptid bestiary IRL, I guess, are... like canonically, I guess, like just actually like supposed to be aliens, right? Flatwoods Monster literally appeared after, something crashed into the forest of Flatwoods, West Virginia.
Yeah, and I would say the same about like the Hopsville, the Hopkinsville goblins.
Hopkinsville goblins, right?
Hopkinsville
Yeah, they
goblins. Yeah,
literally.
it's like I'd say those are aliens as well.
Yeah, so a lot of cryptids are just actually supposed to be like extraterrestrial beings, but I mean, in Dandadan, it's like the Loch Ness monster is an alien.
Yeah, which wow. It's like those shows, like those Bigfoot hunter shows, are like, wow, Bigfoot might be an alien, guys. Like, whoa, whoa, calm down, schizo.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like I may believe in
uh,
Bigfoot, but to think he's an alien, God, you're crazy.
yeah. But then like yeah, the aliens have like can have psychic powers. And you find out that like at least for humans, the psychic powers are like can be awakened via like chakra stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
so like it's like you have like so like presumably it works the same way for the aliens. I think I remember them mentioning that kind of stuff too. But I'm not sure. I'm fuzzy on that.
Mhm.
And like, but yeah, so you get the sense that like the powers of everything in the show kind of stem from the same source, even though they vary wildly, right? It's not really a
Oh
power
yeah,
system so much as just like you can do stuff depending on what your gimmick is,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, like we know our main boy Okarun getting possessed by a yokai,
Yeah,
and then they managed to get the powers under control and all that
yeah.
shenanigans.
He
Where
literally
he's
steals her Speedy Boy powers.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so he gets like kind of speedster adjacent ability.
I wouldn't even say adjacent. Like
Like straight
that's
up,
like
yeah.
he's just straight up like he's like a super speedster. Like that's how he
Mhm.
fights, right? He's
Yeah.
just like I'm gonna like zip through you, and that's how you're gonna die.
Yeah, yeah, fair, yeah.
But you get the sense that like humans are kind of like uniquely spiritually powerful when awakened, I guess.
Yes.
Um, Momo is a great example of that while alive, but I think the yokai are the biggest example, like when like dead, right?
Oh,
Like when
yes.
it's just pure like spirit, right? And it's kind of later like hypothesized, and if not outright, kind of just stated that the reason aliens with all their superior technology haven't like invaded and conquered Earth is because like yokai and other like spiritual demonic forces on Earth just like would like completely BTFO them, like we just blow them out of the water. They literally don't even stand a
Which is
chance against.
such a great like background premise. Like when Okarun started talking about that, I was like, I, that's so good. It's like not even
It's
like
genius.
it's barely even humanity putting up a defense. It's just all the weird cryptids and ghosts and shit on the
Creatures and
planet that
shit.
are like a
Yeah,
deterrent against
it's
direct
like
alien invasion.
why haven't aliens invaded? It's because ghosts and demons and shit would body them. That's why. It's like, oh, okay,
It's like, oh,
that's cool.
that's great.
That's awesome. That's me. That's
Telling me there's like
amazing.
some like interdimensional cold war going on between
Between
like
aliens and spirits, that's so fucking
yeah.
cool, dude. It's so awesome. You're like, what? You're telling me that like like the reason that like reptilians haven't taken over Earth basically is because like they would get like one shot by like the Bell Witch or something. Like that's cool.
That would explain a lot, actually. Even in real life. Curious. Disclosure?
I it's great, right? I like the idea that like aliens would get like bodied by like a Hispanic grandma with those like Jesus candles, right? Just going.
Oh, yeah, honestly. Or, also it sets up this, like, this mental image of other stuff going on elsewhere on the planet unrelated to the characters of, like a
Yeah,
flying saucer in a forest in, like, Cascadia somewhere. Some little grays come out, and one of them just immediately gets, like Jason Voorhees into a tree by a Bigfoot, like just grabs it by the leg and just The bodies just like, oh shit. All right.
But the funny part is I've told you about that, right? That's like an actual like supposed thing that's happened, right? That's an incident of real life reported high strangeness where I forget what it's called. It's like was it in like Kentucky or Tennessee or something that there was like a reported um back in like the 50s, I think. The Bigfoot alien battle that happened where it's like you get a bunch like it's so great, like in the weeks leading up to this you get a combination of like Bigfoot and UFO sightings, and then one day like aliens are like about to like abduct this family, but then like a bunch of fucking Bigfoots just like come. It's so good, like the fact that that's like an actual real world like sighting that supposedly occurred of just like, yeah, we saw like aliens and Bigfoots fighting. They had like a little war in the middle of nowhere, like Kentucky, basically. I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. I love that. And like so Dandadan just like takes that and it's just like real, yeah. Like
Yes.
actual, yeah. Uh-huh.
It's just so
Oh
good.
yeah. Like yeah, this like it takes the absurdities of real world paranormal encounters, right? And just goes, we're just gonna fucking roll with this. We're just gonna say, you know what? Yeah, it's all like, real. It's all canon, baby. You want to have a fucking like Mothman, like Duncan on a fucking like reptilian? Here you go, right? You want to have a fucking a chupacabra, fucking trying to nom on a fucking like I don't know, like fucking Indrid Cold or something. Here you go, right? Like,
Yes, actually, that'd be
like
fantastic.
atmospheric jellyfish. It's an alien organism, and its mortal enemy is el fucking Kukui, right? Like fucking
Man doesn't know about the Transatlantic Gnome-Duende War of 1945. Actually, that needs to be written down somewhere. That's a
write that down. Write that down. We need to just make our own Dandadan. I don't care if people be like, "You're just ripping off Dandadan." We'll just be like, "Yes, we are in fact just ripping off Dandadan." That's too good. I'm sorry. That was holy shit. That was excellent. That was fucking phenomenal, dude. That's so good. Man, I really do like honestly like a Western or like American Dandadan would be so good because there's just so much insane shit that we have in our folklore and like conspiracy theories and stuff that would make for such great like arcs, plot lines, whatever, right? Like again, alien Bigfoot wars. Some of our cryptids are just fucking insane, right? Like the West Virginia vegetable man. Like what the fuck? Like that's a real cryptid, and it's also an alien too, right? It just appeared to, I think, yeah, if I remember correctly, it's an alien, right? Just
yeah.
appeared to some guy. So the fucking spaceship in like the 60s, I want to say, just appeared to some guy in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia, apparently, and out came a vegetable man. I don't I don't know what to tell
Yeah.
you,
Hey, that's just how it
right?
goes sometimes out there. I don't know.
Right? Right? Or you have like the English Sam the Sandown clown, right? We have clown cryptids, dog. We have
Yes, we
alien
do.
extra dimensional clown cryptids.
Actual killer clowns from outer space events happening right now somewhere.
It's so, like we have so much good stuff, dude. We have so much good stuff that like no one does anything with in like fiction, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
please, dog. I want someone to why is my the like the first like even like reference to the Dover Demon in fiction that I've ever seen in fucking a Japanese anime. That's insane.
Yeah.
Why aren't we referencing our own shit? Why is the Flatwoods monster in a Japanese anime and not in something American?
Hey,
Right?
it's
Like,
baffling.
not to say that it shouldn't be in Japanese stuff, but like, why isn't it in our stuff? Like, it's cool. The Japanese are right to be like, this is cool shit.
Yeah.
Why aren't we, the originators of this stuff, going, this is cool shit? Because it is
Exactly.
cool shit, right? I
That's why
want to
it's
see.
up to us.
We gotta do it. We gotta do it.
Truly.
It's gonna be, again. You gotta depict the transatlantic Gnome-Duende war. Okay, you gotta do it. You gotta do it.
Yes, exactly.
Like, some real like Dandadan meets Hellboy shit.
Yes.
So peak, dude. So peak. Okay, we went on another fucking tangent because of course we do, but like, basically Don is American Shinto pilled. Well, I guess more accurately it would just be
Just,
kind of straight up Shinto pilled, but like,
but no, it takes the American Shinto stuff because it
it
takes
does,
North American
yes,
cryptids and
and it takes
elsewhere too, of
aliens.
course, and
It takes
aliens and
aliens, which aren't really a part of Shinto, right? So you're right. Yeah, it does. American Shinto is spreading beyond just America. It's
only
going back
Chio
home.
voice on this. I'm gonna complain about that on my deathbed. Genuinely, it's like we didn't get an occultic 9 Expecium boys
We could have
series.
had.
Like you
We
dropped
could
the
have
ball
had
so hard.
peak.
You could have had peak, bro. But now,
Could have
sorry,
had
more
peak.
Steinsky.
We could have had peak, man. Oh man.
Aliens and Science
Yeah,
Adventure would be so insane.
yeah, especially because science adventure, like, it tends to, it has interesting takes on pre-established conspiracy lore, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
That
Anyways,
yeah. Before going to like I start another tangent
yeah.
with that,
Before
it's
we
like
just, yeah,
just gotta let that out. That like, damn, we could have had it so good. But at
we
least we'd
could have
have
had
Dawn
it.
to Dawn.
We could have eaten good, but we do have Dandadan, which is American Shinto pilled. It is. It's very. And I think what I like about how it relates to American Shinto is like it. Like, you're right. Yeah, it has like aliens and American cryptids, but it also, of course, incorporates actual Japanese Shinto into American Shinto, into this framework of like, it's all related,
Yeah.
right? It's all part. It's all the same phenomena. It's all, you know. It all stems from the same and uncanny source of something beyond us, right?
Yeah.
Never really elaborated on, which I kind of like about that in Dandadan, right? It's not really about like, oh, what is the source for all of these
Mhm.
things, right? What, like, it's just kind of them kind of living with it, just kind of going through through their crazy plot lines, right? Dealing with
Yeah.
just whatever happens to be fucking with them at any given moment. By incorporating, stuff from not just Japan, it kind of expands kind of the scope of our American Shinto idea, right?
Right.
Because now
Yeah.
it's not just Western ghosts and aliens and cryptids. Now it is Japanese yokai.
Yeah.
It's all this stuff, right? So
Global scale.
exactly, yeah.
Global Shinto.
Global, Jesus Christ. Oh man, but yeah, it's interesting. I think in a way, Japan has always kind of had a more obviously native, right, perspective of what we call American Shinto here on
Yeah.
layer one. way before even we ever thought of any of this stuff. From my understanding, at least, that's kind of how they see a lot of how they've always really seen a lot of our cryptids and stuff like that, right? Like, as
Right,
far as
yeah.
they're concerned, Mothman, the Flatwoods Monster, the Dover Demon, like these are American yokai, right?
Yeah. And I mean,
Always
like,
have been to them.
and as we're piecing together here, that is what they are. It's like,
Yes, yes,
have
they're
a hard
right. They're
time
correct.
distinguishing, like, okay, how would they not be? It's like, oh, people will then do something of playing it down and taking the spiritual whatever aspect out of it, the belief. It's like, oh, it's just kooky characters and blah blah blah. It's like the fact that there's so much of it everywhere in like even like relatively disjointed places. Of again, I'm not saying it's real. It's just that belief that there is more.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Which is like, I think part of why this view is dismissed and hasn't really been really even thought up all that much here is that just the Western view of spirituality is different from the Japanese one,
Mhm.
right? It's different, right? It's very much obviously kind of Christian spirituality, which is it doesn't really allow for these kind of things
Yeah.
outside of like their demons, right?
Yes, yes, it's that eternal, wiped out the paganism of most of Europe.
Yeah,
Like,
the worldview really.
yeah, the worldview. It's called a religion, but it's like like it just kind of in the fact that that's here, it does cause this sense of like downplaying these things or like over fictionalizing them to the point of like instead of like a folklore folk story, it's just, oh, it's just that crazy conspiracy theory. Oh, it's those we gotta scientifically like explain it. It's
Yeah,
gotta be something, it has to be like a real like thing that's possible.
it's just at the core of all of this is really just the need to categorize, right?
Yes, yes.
It is right, whether it be from this kind of scientific rationalist worldview of like, oh, it was just, you were seeing things, it was something else, right? Or it's just something that looked weird, but it was normal, or the kind of Christian influence worldview of it's just a demon, right?
Yes. Yeah.
is is this need to categorize. Part of the reason I think this theory is kind of popped up is because even in the paranormal realm in itself, this kind of desire popped up, right? Of it's a cryptid, or it's an alien, or it's a spirit, right?
Mhm.
Again, the need to categorize. We have to come up with categories to explain things. Nothing can exist outside of categories, let alone can categorization not be the method with which we try to understand these things, whether it be from a they actually were there worldview or just a kind of folkloric cultural worldview, right? It
Yeah.
always has to be, we have to fit these things into specific little boxes that make sense and are understandable to us. They can never just be them. They can never just be the thing in itself,
Yeah, exactly.
right? Whereas I think this kind of American Shinto view really kind of, again, it comes from it's a different way of looking at it, where it's just we're not looking at it as, oh, they're demons, like literal demons. We're not looking at it as, oh, it's just, you know there's a perfectly rational explanation for them, or even, oh, this the Flatwoods monster is an alien.
Hmm.
Sheep Squatch is a cryptid. The Bell Witch is a ghost. We're looking at it in terms of like, these are all the same phenomenon. These are all have the same or similar underlying kind of cultural mechanisms. In a way, these are just kind of different embodiments of similar forces, whether that be literal forces or psychological forces. Take your pick.
Yeah.
Um,
That gets into well, we talked about it before, but still, like, just this weird innate human aspect that, all throughout history there's always been something like that. Like, you could do this direct line from European paganism to whatever you want to call this now, as we've called it, American Shinto. Like, there's just this, there's a lot of weird little things out there that can't be explained. And
Well, and I was about to say, I think in a way, even that kind of distinction and dichotomy that I just made is kind of just I maybe not, but maybe the last kind of barrier of categoric thinking, right? In terms of like,
mhm,
again, I just kind of posed it as it's either socio-psychological phenomenon or literal phenomenon,
yeah,
and at some point maybe the best way to think about it is as neither,
yeah,
and therefore both, right? As just purely the phenomena unto itself. Like, don't even think about is it real or not, because that doesn't
mhm,
matter at the end of the day. What matters is the effect on people, on society at large, on
yeah,
how people think about and view the world, right? The world is a much different place when you believe in things like the Mothman or the Vegetable Man, the Hopkinsville Goblins, the Loch Ness Monster, Chupacabra, etc. It's a whole different kind of realm you're living in than when you don't, when you're someone who doesn't believe in that stuff.
mhm,
Um, I think that's what's important is that very fact itself is just reality is fundamentally different
yeah, exactly.
to,
It's
under these two worldviews. And so I appreciate Dandadan for really kind of thrusting that in people's faces from the country that really we at least kind of got this interpretation from, right? And like I said, I
yeah,
think they've had this interpretation of our stuff for a while now because that's how they view their stuff,
mhm,
right? And so I think it's only natural that eventually something like Dandadan was going to come around and be like, well, this fits into how we view things, right? It fits under this framework. And again, like I said, I think they always have. It's just we've never really there's never been that kind of cultural dialogue before, right? I mean,
mhm.
you see it with. I mean, the Japanese have always loved the Flatwoods Monster, right? You see it not just in Dandadan. It's like, isn't it like in Majora's Mask? It's an enemy in Majora's Mask,
Oh,
right?
right, yeah. Just forgot about that.
Um, I know, yeah, yeah. It's it's in a couple other Japanese video games, and just culture too. They really like it. Um, I think it's even been like kind of referenced in like anime and stuff too a few times.
Mhm,
Um, not just Down to Dawn, obviously, but they actually fight it. Um, but like yeah, not. I think there's a few other cryptids of ours they really like too, but the Flatwoods Monster is the big one that they really like. I'm trying to think too. Like Japan really likes Twin Peaks too, which is I think another. We got to do an episode on that one.
yes, for
Um,
sure.
but I think that's another. Twin Peaks is it's another piece of media that's very American Shinto pilled, really. Very. It gets it in a way that's visceral, I think. And I think that's part of why Japan likes it so much too. Is that it? Man, is it fucking just insane? One, Twin Peaks is just a wild ride. But again, this understanding of all this strange stuff is springing from the same source, as well being kind of different facets of the same phenomena, the same force. and the way it kind of just underlies reality at all times. I think that naturally, again, far be it from me to speak for the Japanese, but I think that resonated with them, right? And
Yeah.
you see a lot of this media and lore really resonate with the Japanese, and I think that our theory of American Shinto really illustrates why, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
And like I said, I'm glad Dandadan exists to kind of subtly highlight that, right? It's the first big marker of what I hope is a bigger cross cultural discussion, right? I would love to talk to Japanese people about what they think about. I mean, one, of course, our idea of American Shinto, but like kind of to go more into the weeds of what, yeah, what they think about this, what they think
Yeah.
about
Oh yeah,
how
their average view of like our cryptids and our like
alien stuff,
aliens and
like yeah, like our particular brand of weird lore.
hmm,
What do they think about that? Like, how do they view, yeah, like Mothman, Indrid Cold, you know, atmospheric jellyfish, like from and kind of their cultural or religious context, spiritual maybe is a better word, spiritual context of Shintoism or yeah, I'm interested, right, in what they would think about our ideas, right? Is would they think we're on the right path, or would they be like, I think you're full of shit? I don't know.
okay,
Um,
schizos.
yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, I don't know, but again, I think these things resonate with Japanese people for a reason. But yeah, I would like to hear. I would like
Yes.
to see. I would like to understand. I would like to maybe even kind of get some like. It's not like I'm an expert on Shinto, and while I'm mainly using, we're mainly using American Shinto as kind of like a signifier, right?
Yeah.
More than like literally saying it's exactly like Shinto. We're more like kind of signifying that it's of the same essence, right? Of this kind of almost pagan, animistic, almost worldview
Hmm.
behind these folkloric creatures, cryptids, aliens, etc. Yeah, so I would be interested in seeing kind of what ideas they have about that.
Hmm. No, it
And I
would
really,
be
yeah,
truly
yeah.
fascinating.
So yeah, yeah, I really hope Dawn to Dawn is the beginning of this dialogue. I really hope it gets people over here to think about this kind of stuff, even if they never, so much as ever hear about Layer One. I hope the fact that it does have American cryptids and alien um alongside Japanese yokai and stuff. Like I hope that kind of makes people kind of start to draw their own connections and be like, well, this is similar. And of course, going back to what most of this episode was about at first, I hope it gets people to just make cool, insane stories about transatlantic Gnome-Duende wars or whatever, right? And I hope they get big. I hope if you're thinking about writing about, I don't know, fucking chupacabras versus dragons, I
Ooh.
hope you pop off, you know.
Yeah. Get out there and make
um,
stuff. I believe I said that in another episode of ours, but I'm
we
saying
say that a lot, I think.
but it's like,
We do
hey,
say that a bit.
you're listening, like take some
Make cool stuff, make cool
inspiration.
weird stuff. Yeah, you like this whole episode again. There's this whole last half of the episode. There's plenty of if you can't come up with anything yourself, purely unique, right? If you can't come up with your own fantasy world or whatever, take the Dandadan approach, right? There's so much in American or Western or frankly all over the world, right? That we don't see enough of, I think,
Hmm,
right?
yeah.
We don't see enough of. we're not going to go into examples, but there's plenty of weird creatures and stories and encounters all over the world. Every country, every state, province, town, whatever has its lore. Go find it and go make something out of it. Make something new out of it. Make something. Does your town have a local legend, right? That like only old people really care about? Well, make something new with that legend. And make it cool for the new generation, right? Make something cool with that legend, revive it, right? Keep it alive, right?
Yeah,
Changed
exactly.
maybe, but still thoroughly what it always was, right? There's plenty of inspiration all around you if you know where to look. And I think that's kind of the real bow that ties everything we've talked about this episode together, right? Is like we just mentioned in the episode of the Mob Zone, right? The Mob Zone as the realm of inspiration, right? As well as the absurd and paranormal, right? I think that's how we can kind of tie this all together, is that if you just look, if you're willing to get a little weird and you're just willing to do something, you can make something really cool. And I think Dandadan shows that. We've been Layer 1.
Yes.
This
See you
is
again soon.
yeah.
Hopefully, we'll hear about
Well,
the kino you create.
yeah, yeah.
Or know of. That'd be
Genuinely, yeah.
fun.
Let us know. Fucking leave a comment. We have a website. I don't think we have anything like you can comment on the website, but
Unless you
some
go
of us have
directly
links
to
to our
the.
social media.
Yeah.
We have our shit. We Schizopunk Media has a fucking Twitter account. Like no one
Yes.
like. It's not like we have many followers or anything, but hey,
It's there.
it's there, right? It's something.
Feel free to reach out or whatever, But yeah, no, that's we'll see you next time, I guess.
See ya.